Harley Nash here, coming to you live from Journeymen Past Restore. Okay, if anybody's watching these videos, you might have noticed that we are a bit delayed on an episode here, and I'm not sure what it was that stopped us.
Nobody's fault.
Okay, it's my fault.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure, my bad. But we're back at the Mini now, and yeah. So as you can see, after we've taken off the old front panels, before we put on the new ones, there's a little bit of work we have to do on the body of the car to prep for those panels. Where we took off that old panel, you can see there's some rust and rot underneath from the old panels that were there. All of the little spot welds that we drilled out, the metal's gotten a bit thinner in those sections, so we have to weld those back up before we're going to spot weld our new panels on. There are a couple of places where, unfortunately, getting off the panels, we did have to put a bit of a cut in with the grinder, so we have to weld that back up nicely. But yeah, all in all, then it's just trying to get out a couple little dings and dents, straightening out some of the flanges along the edges, wire brushing everything to get rid of all of that paint and the rust, and maybe putting on a little rust converter where there is anything damaged. And while we're inside here, we'll also maybe try and neaten up any bad holes, clean up anything that doesn't look so lacquer. So we've done a little bit of work cleaning back the panel on the Cooper S, and the factory panels are pretty good. They did need a little bit of cleaning up and neatening just to make them fit nicely. But if you guys check over here, we actually mate up pretty well all along the seams, all along the edge. Now, what we want to try to do is work from this panel around and try and maintain those gaps all the way. So what we want to do to hold this panel in place, instead of welding it here, we want a temporary measure that's going to keep it accurate. So, if you guys look over here,
I'm even learning something.
this is a Cleco. So how a Cleco works is it's used to join two pieces of metal together temporarily. So what you do is, between your two panels, you would drill a hole, and then you would use this little tool here. So you can see when you actually push that Cleco, it goes from like a 4mm to a 3mm. And then all we got to do now is stick that into our 3mm hole when we've clicked it, pull it off, and it's fixed.
Well, isn't that convenient?
There we go. You guys can see the back there, how it's holding it in there. So it's a really nice temporary way to fix two pieces of metal together. So now if we go over here, you can imagine, and if you have a bad imagination, we're going to be doing this in a time lapse shortly.
Well, we find where our gaps are and we see which panel needs to meet the other one in the middle basically, and close the gaps wherever we need to spot weld. We're prepping to put the panels back onto the body by spot welding. Well, we'd like to make sure that where the new panel or old panel meets the other one, meets its brother or sister, it has no gaps between. So where you see the metal is touching the layers, and then where you see the metal is not touching, you need to close those gaps so that when you spot, you don't get any pulling on the panels and no distortion when you're finished.
So we were struggling a little bit with some of the bonnet lines on the Mini. So we've decided, well, should we run through this quickly, Arth?
Yes, our process. So we are trying to close the bonnet gap, which is our main issue now. And therefore, we have welded these guys to the inside of the engine bay panel and Clecoed the outside panel onto the engine bay panel to see if we can pull everything together to close our gap, which seems to be working.
Yeah, on this side you guys can see we've already got quite a nice gap going there, and we'll attempt that side. Now, first off with the rear end, we're going to show you guys the problem. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a battery box problem, and we've replaced or started to replace that. So what Arthur did was he removed the old battery box nice and carefully, similarly to how we did the front end, and I've just been working the new battery box into place, because unfortunately even though replacement panels are made to replace factory, they don't fit too well. So yeah, I'll just kind of go around the car working with a little soft piece of aluminium and a hammer, trying to work that original panel back into fit nice and well. You can see here sort of slowly working my way around as I get to each part, putting in a different Cleco just to hold that shape in place. So it might be a little bit difficult for you guys to see, but after stretching the metal to make sure that the new battery box fits nicely, so I'm trying to get it out of the shadow here, you can see we get a bit of stretch here, and then along the corners where there wasn't enough metal to actually stretch out to allow me to get that shape right, and we end up with little cracks. So what I'm going to do now that the battery box is fitting nicely is I'm just going to clean up all of the extra material from the spot welds and start filling in all the little holes and closing all the cracks up. So onto the time lapse. You've now been busy on this motor for about 16 weeks.
It's a couple of hours of work.
Where are we in the process?
So cobs are back on, all completed. They need a final adjustment and tune, but as you can see, all the linkages and everything have been done. Engine's looking pretty snazzy.
You got a couple of fans.
Yeah, a couple of orange fans.
Is that orange?
It's orangey yellow.
It's pretty flippin' yellow.
So I'm just gonna pop this on. Should take a couple of minutes. Just the fuel line, nice and copper.
Polish it up.
And then I think I'm gonna get cracking on the rear subframes.
Like, subscribe, and share.
No. Okay, too needy.
What the f wrong with this guy? Tonight on Journeymen, pass restored.
Okay, take 3.
What am I doing? Tonight. Is that not better?
That's better, yeah. No, just give us a...
Tonight on Journeymen, pass restored.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Just like natural. Just act natural.
Good evening, folks. Tonight on...
You look so uncomfortable. Alright, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, that's better. We wasted like an hour.